Some will also disagree with you because over time, if you look at it, we've seen some wonderful Nigerians, that have come into government in their 30s, in their early 40s, and some others will argue and say, well, they haven't actually fared well to have given, to have made the nation to give them more chance and more opportunity, and that is why some would say, well, the youth of this country will still need some form of learning or grooming. Do you think in this conference that divide should also be part of the discussion?
So who makes the call about who gets into government? The old people. So what do you expect?
Well, in a democracy, if a young person puts himself or herself
but you can't.
For an elective post, I think wait for the electorate to cast a ballot for you or against you.
The age discrimination limits those chances. You understand? So that's a problem. Because if democracy is played in that very liberal way that it should be played, and you leave it open, no age restrictions, perhaps one day youth can come up and become the president of Nigeria. You never know. But the point is that, of course, we need experience. Of course, we need people who have been there before. But I do think, honestly, that the youth representation in the conference is not very encouraging. Beyond the conference, the capacity of the Nigerian state to utilize the strengths and the potentials of its youth population has been very abysmal. That is my opinion about it, and I think we can do better than we're doing.
All right.
The National Conference, do you expect a referendum?
Again, speaking as a lawyer, a referendum by who? It's the National Assembly that is the body empowered to make laws. Are they going to do it? Because these are the fundamental questions I raised in the beginning. What is the relationship between this conference and the National Assembly?
Do you see any?
I don't see any. I didn't hear of any.
But
I'm a student of law,
okay.
And so my question would be, where is it written?
What if the people, because remember they said that the people ultimately determine what happens to the recommendations of this conference. So what if they say that we do not want this going to the National Assembly?
The people can't do that because the people are also guided by the laws.
So what happens to where all of these lawyers who say power belongs to the people? If the people say this is what they want, after all, they elected those members in the House of Representatives and the National Assembly, I should say.
Power belongs to the people reminds me of Egypt. So yes, power belongs to the people, but the Constitution provides the avenue or the mechanism within which that power can be expressed. And the way I understand the law, the way I understand the Constitution as it works, the members of the National Assembly have our mandate. They enjoy our mandate to make laws for us. That is the way the Constitution has made it. And so whatever happened at the National Conference is legally inconsequential if the National Assembly doesn't buy into it. It could have very heavy political weight. It could have a moral authority, but it's not the law.
Could the president send it back to the National Assembly as an executive bill?
Oh, sure, he can, but they have the right to reject it or not implement it. And so the question is, that conversation about the outcome of national conference should have been held. That understanding should have been there, that whatever comes out of this process is going to go to the National Assembly. And the best way to do it is to pass a legislation by the National Assembly saying that we are bound by whatever comes out of it.
Without changing anything of those recommendations.
I'm not sure the National Assembly is going to agree to that.
But I know you're not a member of the National Assembly, but do you think the members of the National Assembly believe in this national conference enough to even think about passing a legislature on their own?
Looking at it one way, the National Conference could be seen as an indictment on the National Assembly.
How?
Because the National Conference is about a conversation of Nigerians. The National Assembly the members of the National Assembly are the representative of Nigerians in the strict sense. So why are they not having that conversation? So it could be seen as an indictment. But the president used a very beautiful term. He said it's complementary to the National Assembly. Now, the challenge here is simple.
Yeah.
If you finish all of this, if you invest this kind of money in this process, and the recommendations come out, I'm sure not all the recommendations might require legislation. It could be just a change of attitude. So those recommendations that don't require legislation may not be problematic.
Okay.
But the ones that require legislation goes away from the powers of the president, even from the powers of the members of the National Conference. It goes to the National Assembly. And that's where I have a problem with the timing. So how do we make the outcome of this National Conference a campaign issue? So that people who are going to the National Assembly are going there with a commitment that they don't have a choice but to make sure that this is implemented.
Hoping it doesn't end as a campaign issue. But what do we do with the comments of the president concerning what happens to the outcome of this conference? Because at some point, he did say, well, it will be sent to the National Assembly. Now, the headlines have it that it says he may subject this, or the outcome may be subjected to referendum.
Then the fundamental question is, can the president on his own call for a referendum without reference to the National Assembly? I don't think so.
But can this conference call for it?
The conference has no statutory power. I mean, let me be blunt. This is just a meeting. That's what it is.
Just a meeting.
It is a meeting.
The Constitution says, we the people of Nigeria.
And then go back and see what it says about the National Assembly. The legislative power of this country is vested in the National Assembly. So let us call it what it is. If you don't apply very careful negotiation to ensure that the National Assembly buys into this process, sorry, it's not going to get us anywhere.
Even if the people say, we know what the law says, but this is what we are saying.
Well,
and
the nexus
if
of
they get the
accountability,
backing of Nigerians.
the nexus of accountability between the National Assembly and Nigerians is not the best. You know that.
Yeah, but does that then mean we have to throw up our hands up in the air and resign to fate?
I don't know how we're going to do it. We can reason with them. They can buy into this vision. But you know, a lot depends on what comes out of this process. If people see it as another, system of political gimmick, it's not going to get that kind of support you expect. I'm sure that if what comes out of it becomes a document that excites all of us, the National Assembly members are Nigerians. Why won't they buy into it? But the point I'm trying to make is, the reality is that the lawmaking powers of this country is vested in the National Assembly. If they don't use it, all of this would be beautiful moral documents, beautiful political document that has no moment under the law.